Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so when you sit down at a restaurant, you're usually just thinking about the flavor, right? Maybe the ambiance. But behind those swinging doors is a chaotic, high-stakes gauntlet. It's a daily, invisible battle against microscopic threats where one slip-up can be disastrous. Let's uncover the exact obstacles your food has to survive before it ever reaches your plate.
Here's the roadmap for our explainer today. We'll be tracking this journey chronologically, starting with the kitchen's first defense, beating the danger zone, stopping cross-contamination, the human element, cleaning and waste, and finally, a look at our shared responsibility.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the kitchen's first defense.
So, the battle actually begins right at the back door. Picture this, a delivery truck drops off fresh seafood smack in the middle of the Friday lunch rush. If the kitchen is too slammed to properly inspect and store that delivery right away, those perishables are just sitting there on a warm loading dock. You've literally lost control of the timeline before a chef even picks up a knife.
Moving on to Section 2, beating the danger zone.
Which brings us to the kitchen's ultimate ticking clock, the danger zone. That's the specific temperature window between 40 and 140 degrees Fahrenheit. It's the absolute sweet spot where pathogens throw a massive reproduction party. If food lingers in this range, it becomes a severe biological hazard. It is a literal race against time to get food either blazing hot or freezing cold.
And you can't just eyeball a steak and call it safe, right? Defeating those pathogens requires hard science. Chefs have to obsessively use clean, sanitized thermometers to hit exact minimum temperatures, which is usually between 145 and 180 degrees. Hitting those precise numbers is the only guaranteed way to destroy any bacteria that might have hitchhiked in on the raw ingredients.
But you know what's wild? How completely everyday habits can ruin all that hard work. Take the microwave. It cooks unevenly, leaving hidden cold spots where microbes happily survive. Or think about a buffet. If someone leaves a chafing dish lid open for just a few minutes, the heat escapes and the food plummets right back into that terrifying danger zone. Even just mixing a fresh, hot batch of soup into an older, cooler one, you've just created a lukewarm breeding ground.
Now, even if you perfectly conquer the temperature test, improper storage can introduce total chemical sabotage. Lining a container with newspaper, toxic ink leaches right into the meal. Storing acidic sauces in copper pots, that creates a chemical reaction that pulls heavy metals straight into the food. And throwing cooked food into a cardboard box is a massive red flag, mainly because cardboard can never actually be sanitized. Storage absolutely has to be food grade, period.
Let's look at Section 3, stopping cross-contamination. To stop pathogens from jumping around, smart kitchens are designed as a linear obstacle course. Architecture actually really matters here. You never want the path of raw chicken to cross paths with a fresh salad. Raw storage has to be strictly separated from ready-to-eat stations, because if those zones get too cozy, the risk of a bug jumping from raw meat to a finished plate absolutely skyrockets.
And that strict separation scales all the way down to a chef's hands. Say you slice a raw chicken breast and then use that exact same unwashed knife to chop tomatoes for a salad, you've just guaranteed cross-contamination. Those pathogens are now thriving on the tomatoes, which obviously won't be cooked. It's a super basic error, but it remains a massive driver of food poisoning.
So we've battled temperatures and tools, but let's pause for a second. What do you think is the single biggest source of contamination in a commercial kitchen? You might guess the raw poultry or maybe a dirty floor, but the real answer? It's actually walking around on two legs.
Which brings us to Section 4, the human element.
Yep, humans are the ultimate wild card. We're natural carriers of heavy hitters like norovirus, E. coli, and hepatitis A. These microscopic threats can easily hitch a ride on our hands, our uniforms, or even our breath. If a cook's hygiene slips for even a fraction of a second, those pathogens transfer straight to your meal. Food safety isn't just about math and temperatures, it's a huge social duty.
And despite all the intense training, people are people. They might wear a dirty apron, skip putting on a hairnet, or just rush through hand washing. Overcoming human nature like this requires relentless managerial enforcement. Leadership has to ensure staff are actually wearing their protective gear, washing their hands obsessively, and most importantly, staying home if they even feel a tickle in their throat.
Up next is Section 5, cleaning and waste management.
Here's where a shockingly high number of places fail, confusing cleaning with sanitizing. Cleaning just removes the visible grease and grime, but a stainless steel prep table can look brilliantly spotless to the naked eye while still harboring millions of invisible, disease-spreading germs.
That's why sanitizing, which means using targeted heat or chemicals to actually execute those pathogens, is strictly required.
And even heavy-duty machinery can't save you if you undermine the process. If you cram a dishwasher too full, the chemical sprays can't actually reach every plate. If you use the wrong ratio of chemicals or just forget to swap out the solutions between cycles, you are completely neutralizing the sanitation. It just creates this really dangerous illusion of safety. Then there's waste management, which requires strategic geography. Garbage bins cannot be an afterthought. If you have an overflowing trash can right next to a prep station, you are basically rolling out the red carpet for pests straight into your clean zones. Maintaining strict physical distance between where food is prepped and where waste goes is absolutely non-negotiable.
And finally, Section 6, a shared responsibility.
Ultimately, a true culture of safety doesn't just happen by accident. It requires leadership pulling the strings. Employees are the first line of defense, for sure, but management holds the shield. They have the moral obligation to designate safety officers, constantly reinforce safe habits, and ensure that protecting public health is baked right into the DNA of the restaurant.
But the restaurant kitchen is really just one link in a massive, fairly fragile chain. True food safety demands synchronized collaboration, from the farm to the processors, to the delivery drivers, to the chefs, and finally to us as consumers. If there's a breakdown at any single point in this journey, the whole system fractures.
It really changes your perspective, doesn't it? I hope this explainer sheds some light on the incredible, high-stakes science protecting us every single day. The next time you sit down to eat, think about the immense, invisible gauntlet your food just survived. So, after seeing all the temperature controls, the sanitation, and the workflows, how will you view the swinging kitchen doors at your favorite restaurant next time you eat out? Thanks for joining me, and keep asking questions about the hidden systems that shape our world.